What's up, my comic comrades? Today we continue to cover Donny Cates' epic Thor run with parts 3 and 4 of the Prey storyline, which takes place within issues 11 and 12 of Thor. If you haven't watched our episode on parts 1 and 2 of this storyline, you can do so right here. But what's going on is essentially Donald Blake, Thor's alter ego, has been trapped in a purgatory, so to speak, due to Thor not transforming into him in a very long time. So after figuring out he was just a puppet, Donald Blake escaped and is seeking revenge on Thor and anyone else who has ever been imbued with Odin's power. It's a lot more complex than that, but again, watch our video covering the first two parts of the story in greater detail. Anyway, let's continue with parts 3 and 4. The comic starts off with Donald Blake cutting into and eating a steak, telling someone, "I haven't felt this good in a very, very long time." It's hard to describe really, like every nerve in my body is on fire. Like every cell and atom is exploding, everything, every fiber of my being reawakening, yet I've been awake for years. Blake then says, "God, listen to me rambling on. Please, Jane, it's been so long since I've seen you. What's new with you? Tell me everything," as we see the two of them at a nice restaurant. Jane tells him, "Donald, you seem, I don't know, different than you have in the past. Did something happen with your, you know, the change? I mean, I'm so happy to see you, but the last time I saw you, you were heading off to be king." Donald tells her, yes, I don't think the crown fit the way I expected it to. I suppose that's why I'm here, showing up out of nowhere and acting like a complete loon." The two continue to have a conversation as Jane is clearly getting vibes that something is not right with Donald. As he tells her Thor, his voice, his thoughts. "He seems so far away, I fear. I fear he has gone somewhere I cannot follow." We are then taken to where Thor is trapped, which I'm just going to refer to as nowhere, since it was described as an eternal, unchanging place in part 1 of this story. We then see Thor trying to break out of this place, saying, "By Odin, hear me. Hear my thunder. Please, Father, Sif. Anyone, heed my call. Let me go home." We then see Ratatasker saying to Thor, "Well, this is just embarrassing. If you're wondering who the heck this character is, he's a squirrel from Norse mythology who appeared in Unbeatable Squirrel Girl issue 46. Thor says, "After the War of the Realms, I thought you had stayed behind on Midgard." He replies, "I am a chaos god, Thor. Do you think I would have missed the reign of the Thunder God? It's been such a delight to watch. Honestly, best time I've had in ages." Thor then says, "You have to help me. You have to get word through my people to tell them what happened to me. Tell them that Blake," and Ratatasker interrupts saying, "Oh, I'm afraid not, Thor. You see, Asgard is empty, Thor. There is no one to get word to. Not up there, at least. All the gods are lost." We then see Asgard and its people in Dimension Blood, which Donald Blake transported them to last issue. We see that Lady Sif and the Asgardian people have been taken in by friends of Thor. Sif then goes back to check on Beta Ray Bill, who was stripped of his powers by Blake last issue. But Bill just tells her, "I don't want your pity. I don't deserve it. I should have been stronger." She then interrupts him saying, "He blinded all of us. If anyone should have seen it coming, it's me." But Bill then tells her, "I should have protected you." Sif replies, "Bill, I don't need you to protect me." He says, "You're right. My apologies, Lady Sif." At which point Bill yells at those tending to him saying, "Get off of me. I know a way to get us home." Bill says, "Lockjaw, he was on Asgard when the Pretender sent us here. He and I are warbound. You simply find him and he could teleport us." But then Thori, Loki's hellhound, says, "Lockjaw left. Lockjaw's safe friend in trouble. Says he smells death coming. Old friend, warbound. Lockjaw left hours ago." Thori then says, "But I forgot to tell you," which makes for an awkward yet funny moment. Elsewhere, we're taken back to the dinner with Donald Blake and Jane Foster. Jane asks, "How long have you been back?" He says, "Before I came to you? Oh, not long. I spent some time bouncing around getting my feet wet, as it were, visiting some old friends." Which reminds me, I wanted to ask you, you wouldn't happen to know where Odin is these days? I've been asking around and no one seems to know. And he asks ever so sinister because, as we know, he wants to kill him. Jane replies saying, "Oh God, I don't know. We aren't on the best terms. We never really got along when I was Thor, and I don't think the old man is." Blake then interrupts saying, "Wait, when you were what?" She says, "God, Donald, you really did miss a lot. Do you really not remember this? I was Thor for a time when you were, well, when he wasn't. Hammer and everything, fought Mangog, saved Asgard, beat cancer. You really don't remember any of that," as he picks up his steak knife and stabs her in the hand. Then on the next page, we see him suck the power and life force out of her saying, "No more," while grabbing her by the face. But then on the page after that, we see that was just him envisioning what he wants to do to her. While in reality, he just gets quiet and says, "I have to go," blaming it on the fact that he has more old friends to see on his list. So clearly the way this is written and drawn, you could see Donald Blake doesn't want to kill Jane because she's the one person he has feelings for. But at the same time, he also does because he's going after anyone who's ever possessed the power of Thor. What I'm saying is, he's booty conflicted. So much so, before he leaves, he says, "You were always good to me, Jane. You loved me once. Not him, me. You don't belong in the morgue." Because if you don't know, Jane now works at the morgue. But it's also a cryptic way of him saying, "You don't deserve for me to kill you." Anyway, after this, Jane returns back to work, and when she arrives, her colleague Rudy says, I have something serious to show you. I need you to look at something. And I need you to brace yourself. I've seen some bad things in my time down here, but this, I'm sorry, Jane, I think he's one of yours. He then pulls out a body showing her an extremely burnt person that he was able to identify with his teeth, saying the guy's name is Roger Red Norval. Jane then says, oh my God, as Rudy says, he used to be like you. He was Thor, right? Like back in the day? But Jane just runs into the woman's bathroom to throw up. She then tells herself, he wouldn't. It's not him. It's not him. Come on, get it together. That's insane. Donald is fine. As she looks in the mirror and sees evil. Now, if you didn't know, Roger Norville became Thor once upon a time when Loki gave him Thor's power so that he could defeat his brother. Meanwhile, somewhere in the swamp, Donald Blake is carrying a battle axe with torn clothes saying, come out. Do you think I'm scared of you? Of you? Show yourself. Show yourself, you miserable, as we see Donald get struck with lightning. A voice then says, I was not hiding, I was hunting. Now get up and run, as we see Throg, Frog of Thunder, hold up his hammer with a pissed off Lockjaw behind him. And with that, this brings us to Thor issue 12, part 4 of the Prey storyline. Issue 12 starts off with the frog being dissected with captions giving us a eulogy essentially for Simon Walterson, aka Throg, alluding that Donald Blake killed Throg. But come on, we know better. Throg ain't going down that easy. And on the next page, we see in actuality, this is just a school where students are dissecting a random frog. But as this is going on, Throg throws Blake through their classroom wall, to which Blake starts to stand up saying, damn frog. Throg then tells Blake, I know not why you hurt me, only that you wear the stolen face of a friend. For that you shall answer. But know this, pretender, Throg is sport for no one. Not man, nor demon, nor beast, nor fowl. You have made your intentions to harm me and my ilk clear. Now I have made my rebuttal. Stand down. Who would have ever thought a frog version of Thor would be so freaking cool? I swear, introducing Throg into the MCU and seeing him team up with Rocket and Groot would be one of the best things my eyes could ever see on the big screen. Anyway, Blake then picks up his sword and axe saying, put your pads up and fight, you miserable toad. Throg then says, very well, now comes the pain. Lockjaw, kill. But Blake just dodges and uses the Bifrost to teleport Lockjaw away. But remember, one of Lockjaw's powers is he could teleport, so he just teleports back, growling at Donald. So Donald just teleports him away again via the Bifrost, but Lockjaw just teleports back once more. And this back and forth keeps going on for a page and a half, all while Blake is fighting Throg. It's kind of awesome, but eventually Blake is able to grab Throg and literally eats him. That's right, he swallows him whole. After which he looks at Lockjaw saying, now you know what happens to rabid dogs, don't you? They go to the doctor and they never come home. Ever. But right after this, he feels something funny in his throat, and on the next panel, we see Throg's hammer burst out of Blake's mouth, breaking his teeth with blood flying everywhere, as the hammer comes back around to slam him in the stomach, forcing Throg out of his mouth. Throg then says, now, where were we, monster? As his hammer returns to his hand like a badass. It never ceases to amaze me how good writing can make something utterly ridiculous like a frog Thor so cool. Throg then says, oh yes, Lockjaw kill, as he bites Blake's arm, holding him there, while Throg jumps in the air saying, I have no more words for you, villain. Now let Frognir do the talking. As he slams it between Blake's eyes, knocking him out for the count. Throg then tells Lockjaw, thank you for your assistance once again. Lockjaw says, rough, but Throg says, nay, we cannot eat this man. We must assume this man, whoever he is behind the recent slayings of Thorfolk. We need an interrogation. I'm afraid, however, this falls beyond even our skills, Lockjaw. We must take him elsewhere. I'm afraid he needs a doctor. And of course, that doctor is Doctor Strange. Meanwhile, Jane Foster is walking the streets of New York trying to contact Tony Stark for help, but as she's walking, Throg lands right in front of her along with Lockjaw as they've been thrown out of Doctor Strange's sanctum. Throg even says, Lady Jane, run, as we see Donald Blake hold Doctor Strange by the neck out of his skylight. Jane then transforms into Valkyrie saying, Steven, Donald, drop Doctor Strange. Now, Blake says, Jane, now that is interesting. It seems we have so much more to learn about one another, Jane, as he throws Doctor Strange at her and then says, perhaps another time, slamming Sif's sword down, activating the Bifrost, teleporting away. As Jane and Strange watch the sanctum on fire, Strange tells her, Jane, listen to me. I could not stop him. He tossed me aside as if I were a child. And when he discovered the same magics in me, that Asgardian magic I used against Loki when he usurped the title of Sorcerer Supreme, he saw the truth. You see, Jane, he won't be hunting anymore. He's heading for the source. He saw it. He saw how I got that power. He knows I stole it from the World Tree. We then see Donald Blake at the World Tree saying, are you up there? Are you watching? Can you see me now, father? As he starts hacking at it with his axe, making the tree bleed. Meanwhile, we see the blood, so to speak, pouring from the World Tree and dripping down to where Thor is, with Thor saying, Donald, you will pay for this. Do you hear me? Elsewhere, Valkyrie tells Strange, Thor, and Lockjaw, stay and find Thor, while she gets on her horse and flies worlds away. We see that she arrives at a bar on some world telling her horse, stay here, and that she shouldn't take long. She then kicks open the door saying, you, I know you don't like me, And believe me, old man, the feeling is more than mutual. If you could find your way out of the bottom of your cup, it's time you stop hiding. I've had enough dealing with your arrogant, bullheaded children. Now sober up or I'll make you sober up. You can't hide from this anymore. People are dying. Your son is in trouble. And all of it, every inch of it is your fault. So saddle up, you're coming with me. It's time you cleaned up your mess, Odin. As the last page reveals to us a drunk yet extremely jacked Odin, which is a crazy cliffhanger. Odin has finally been found, and apparently Valkyrie knew where he's been all along. But just like that, we have issue 11 and 12 of Thor. Like I've been saying for months now, this Thor title is easily in my top 3 books coming out every month. And the fact that we got to see the return of Throg and see him cooler than ever, in my opinion, was great. And then obviously the massive cliffhanger of Odin finally being brought back into the picture, which is crazy. Needless to say, I'm extremely excited to see where this goes with issue 13, but until then, we want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think of the Prey storyline and issues 11 and 12? Let us know in the comments. First up for the week of the 10th, we have Mighty Morphin issue 5. The new Green Ranger's identity has been revealed, and in this issue, it looks like we're finally gonna get his origin. Here we have the Amazing Spider-Man issue 61. Peter Parker gets a new job, Spider-Man gets a new look, and Kingpin's plans are starting to come together. Now we have Superman issue 29. Jonathan Kent is back from the 31st century and fighting cosmic threats alongside his legendary father, Clark Kent Superman. And finally, we have Joker issue 1. Following the events of Infinite Frontier issue 0, the Joker is the most wanted man in the world, but the Clown Prince of Crime is several steps ahead of law enforcement and he's on the run overseas. Meanwhile, James Gordon is facing retirement and realizes this is the manhunt of his life and the last piece of a storied career. But what mysterious and deadly forces are also in pursuit of the Joker? And just like that, my comic comrades, that brings today's episode of Variant to a close. But if you enjoyed today's video, check out this one right here. And if you like all of our content, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. It always helps us out. But I will see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.